If you are doing your research on any of the 55 plus communities here in the greater Phoenix area, you have definitely heard of Trilogy, specifically Trilogy at Vistancia. It is known as one of the most green and lush communities in the entire greater Phoenix area. It's very active and has a lot going on within the community, but with all of these great things about the community comes along with some cons as well, and that is what we are going to talk about in this video. I am going to go over the cons and pros of living within Trilogy at Vistancia. If you've watched any of my videos in the past, you know that I go over the cons first because these are things that you might not have heard of. Not everybody talks about these, and they're things that you really should know before you move into this community. So without further ado, let's get started with these cons. Before I do that though, I've got to tell you about my 55 plus community guide. It goes over all of the different 55 plus communities. There are over 40 of them here in the greater Phoenix area. It breaks down all of the stats and things that you would want to know about each community. It has a spreadsheet at the end to compare all of the different numbers. It has a map plotting them all out and a one-page summary of each of the communities. If you'd like that, reach out to me. My information is on the screen. Let's get started. Starting off with the number one con of living here in Trilogy at Vistancia, and this con is going to kind of carry into the next couple of cons as well, but it's the fact that there's two different sides to the community. So if you live in the Kiva side of the community, this is the original phase of the community. They started developing in the Kiva side. They made the Kiva Clubhouse, which is the larger of the two clubhouses. On this Kiva side, it's a very mature area. There's a lot of nice green mature trees. Driving through the streets, this is where you get that Trilogy at Vistancia feel, that Shea Homes and Trilogy feel, because of how green the area is. Very lush grass, tree-lined streets. You get to the Kiva Clubhouse and just everything is high-end, upscale, and very green. I mean, it really does not feel like you are in Arizona. However, the homes on this side are also a little bit older. Sometimes the floor plans can be a bit choppier, a little bit awkward to navigate, and they're not quite as updated as some of the homes on the other side, the Mita side. Now, the Mita side has a lot of nice new floor plans. These are kind of the homes that you affiliate more with Shea builders. They're very nice and open. The lots are a little bit smaller on this side because it's newer homes, and that's just kind of the trend over the years. The lot sizes get a little bit smaller, but these are the homes that are very upgraded, up to date, very nice floor plans, more sought after home styles on this side. However, there's no way to get in between the two sides. You have to go back onto Trilogy Boulevard, leave the main gate, and enter through another gate. That's the major con of having two sides to the community. There's a resident access between the two, like a pedestrian walkway that you can navigate the two communities, but the clubhouses are a couple of miles apart, so it's kind of unrealistic to walk from each one. So the fact that there are just two separated sides to this community is one of the biggest drawbacks. Just navigating from one clubhouse to the other, you get access to both of them no matter which side you live on, but it's just the downside of having to go back out onto Trilogy Boulevard, entering through another main gate to get to the other side that you do not live in. And again, the sides are pretty different. One of them has a lot of newer homes, less mature trees. It has a completely different feel driving through the streets of the Mita side compared to the Kiva side, where their homes are a little bit older. They kind of look a little bit nicer from the outside though, because they have kind of that older masonry style, and there's a lot more mature trees on this side. So just knowing that there are two completely different sides, sure, you get access to both of them no matter which one you live on, but they are very different. The next con we're going to talk about is the size of the Mita Clubhouse. So if you lived on the newer side of the community, the Mita side, you live in a newer home that has a nicer floor plan, less mature trees on this side, but the clubhouse on your side of the community is much smaller. Over at the Kiva Clubhouse, it's really large. They've got a restaurant, a cafe, a lot of nice things going on at the Kiva Clubhouse. A lot of areas and clubs meet over there. But on the Mita side, they've got a pool and they've got some tennis courts, and they actually have a cooking studio over here, which is pretty unique to this community. Not too many communities have that, where they'll do cooking classes in this really nice cooking studio. But there's not a whole lot going on at the Mita Clubhouse. It's very small, not quite as much activities going on here. So if you lived on the Mita side, you would find yourself driving out the gates onto Trilogy Boulevard to get back down to the Kiva Clubhouse quite often, just because there's not quite as much going on at the Mita Clubhouse. The third and final con I am going to talk about in this video is the mail situation. Trilogy at Vistancia has an interesting mail situation. I wouldn't say this is a drawback that's so bad that it should prevent you from living in the community in any way, but you should probably know about it before you move in. No matter what side you live on in the community, you will not have a mailbox in front of your home. They're cluster mailboxes. So if you live on the Mita side, when you go to the Mita Clubhouse, it's very hard to miss. there's a big post office type of thing where your home has assigned a number and your mail gets delivered right here. It's outdoors, so you just stroll up, pop open your mailbox, and collect your mail. It's pretty easy on the Mita side. However, on the Kiva side, they have a post office within their clubhouse that can get really busy. So if you go in there, there might be a couple hours wait because they're processing mail, but this is the only place that you can pick up mail is through this post office at the Kiva clubhouse. Honestly, I don't know how many people are still sending letters through the mail, so I don't know how much this would really affect you. It might even be a little bit better because the only thing that comes in the mail nowadays is spam and scams. But I know during the holidays, you want to send Christmas cards, you want to send letters, and you're probably receiving some as well. And the delays for the Kiva clubhouse side for mail over Christmas hours can be quite crazy from what I've heard. It can take a few hours to go in and collect your mail during Christmas times because of how much mail is going through. So they have an interesting mail situation here at Trilogy at Vistancia, and I really do think that is something you should be aware of before moving in. So those are the 3 drawbacks of living in Trilogy at Vistancia. They're pretty unique to Trilogy at Vistancia, and I know a lot of people don't really know about those, especially the last couple, so I hope you learned something new from those. But now let's hop into the 3 pros, or the best parts of living here in Trilogy at Vistancia. The number 1 pro of living in Trilogy at Vistancia is it is a Shea and Trilogy community. Trilogy specializes in these 55 plus communities. There's 4 of them in the valley. We have Trilogy Wickenburg Ranch, we have Trilogy Verde River, Trilogy Power Ranch, and Trilogy at Vistancia. So they really understand what it means to make an active 55 plus community, from the community design to the clubs that take place within them. Trilogy knows what they're doing, and they're pretty sought after communities. And Shea Builders actually develops in all of the Trilogy communities, and they're a sought after builder as well. They build some really nice homes that last a long time. So when it comes to just the community name of Trilogy at Vistancia, you're going to be living in one of the most sought after age restricted communities in the entire valley. Like I mentioned, if you're on that Kiva side, driving through this community, there's not another community in the entire valley that feels the same. It does not feel like you are in Arizona. Very big, lush trees. The majority of my clients who end up moving into Trilogy at Vistancia tell me, I picked it here because it reminds me of home, but I get to live in Arizona where the weather is nowhere like home. So if you're a big nature person and you just love being around trees and grass, living on this Kiva side of Trilogy at Vistancia is the place to be, and there's not really another community that compares to the natural greenery in Trilogy at Vistancia. The next pro I want to talk about is the location. You are located in Northwest Peoria, which is again another very sought after part of the valley. It's a very expanding area. There's a ton of new construction. The appreciation in this area just keeps going up because of how many new home builders are building all along Happy Valley Road there. They're even bringing in some high-end dining like Bourbon and Bones just opened just minutes away from the community. Trilogy is the age-restricted section of a larger master plan community called Vistancia. Vistancia has won master plan community of the year multiple times in the past. It's a high-end community with a lot of families moving to it all the time. They're developing new subdivisions of the community every year. They're actually opening up another age-restricted section of the community called Ridgecrest. It's going to be a small gated boutique community, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be many amenities in this community, so I don't see it as much of a competition to Trilogy at Vistancia, but it is another Trilogy community coming into this area. There is not even a single home built in this community, so you can't move into it quite yet, but all of the growth and commercial buildings that are being built in this area, the shopping centers, and even just single family homes really go to show how many people love moving into this Northwest Peoria, how it's kind of becoming a second Scottsdale when it comes to all of these shopping centers and high-end dining. So there's a very good chance that this area will appreciate faster than some of the other ones. And the third and final pro to living in Trilogy at Vistancia, I talked about it a little bit in the first pro, but this is a very active community. Obviously, all of the Trilogy communities are going to be pretty active, but Trilogy at Vistancia is probably the most active out of all of the Trilogy communities. When you go into the amenities, they are constantly in use, from the fitness center to the outdoor pool to all of just the club rooms. A lot of ways to get involved in this community. They have over 500 active pickleball members in the pickleball club. They only have 4 pickleball courts right now that are designated pickleball courts. They do share the tennis courts, you know, it's shared play, so they split those up into more pickleball courts. And they actually do have have more pickleball courts being built within the community right now. So there are more pickleball courts to come because of how in use their current courts are. So just the overall activeness of this community, you really do see people in the restaurants and the cafes in this community a lot more than some of these other communities. So if you're looking for a community where it's easy to get involved, easy to meet people, there are just always people around the community. That's something a lot of clients tell me. They love when they're driving through their community and they just see people out in the community walking, biking, using the amenities. Just the feel of being in an active community really does make a difference, and that's something that you get here in Trilogy at Vistancia. So with all that being said, those are the pros and cons of living in Trilogy at Vistancia. My name is Caden Liali. I'm a licensed real estate agent here in the greater Phoenix area. If you are planning a move to one of these age-restricted communities, or maybe these communities aren't for you and you're looking at other communities, I'd love to help you out with that. My name and number are on the screen. I'd love to help you with your move. I have that 55 plus community guide where you can compare all of the different communities to each other so you make sure you're not missing out on any of them. Just reach out to me. I'll shoot it over to you. I've seen a lot of people use that resource and it really helps when it comes to your community search. With all that being said, my name is Caden Liali and I will see you in the next video.